And now we're going to turn our focus to leading with our strengths. To further develop and enhance our understanding and knowledge in this area, we look to develop, apply, and build. What are these strengths? You know, what do they mean to me? How do I see them playing out in my project, in my personal life? You know, how can I make it more a part of my day versus less than? And how can I be more mindful about when I am using them, how they produce results, and maybe I need to figure out going into interactions how I'm going to utilize them more to possibly be more successful and or build more relationships, weave our strengths together as a team. I do want you to go back to your initial report, and if you did it out of the strength-based leadership, that's okay. If you did it out of Strength Finders, it's all right. You have a report, a signature theme report, in which I would like for you to have that out. I don't want it to be part of a binder that goes on a shelf. I really want you to have it out, and I want you to be reminding yourself of it. I want your strengths out. But within that report, I do ask people to go through it a second, third time and highlight the sentences, phrases, and words that connect with you. Because these reports are done with millions of people, and therefore your reports, each report, if you did it out of the leadership book, it's not customized necessarily to your specific answers, but to the answers to the population that have, for instance, all people that have analytical, these are some characteristics they have, or all the people that reported their answers and they were consistent with strategic, this is what they have. So some of you said, I read this report and I really don't see myself. And that's absolutely okay. But I guarantee you read that report, you highlight maybe 3 to 5 things that fit with you, and that's how analytical fits you. Or if you have futuristic, you read your futuristic report and highlight the things that fit you as having a futuristic talent. So I wanted to really reinforce that. Again, we don't want to put that report aside and forget about it. I want you to have it out. I want you to be working with it. The first area is leading with your strengths, developing that deeper understanding for you to grow personally and professionally is going to be about connecting with who you are. And connecting with who you are. What are your strengths? How do others people see you and your strengths? How do you inspire? How do you function and focus? And what does that look like? To develop your understanding and that self-awareness you need is going to be your first step. And then looking at how you develop your own sense of awareness and then transferring that to the team that you're working with, your coworkers, people in your personal life will be that next area of development and then application. When we look at leading with our strengths, we really look at how are these strengths my own? You know, who are you as a result of these strengths reports that you have in front of you? You know, how do people see you? Do they see you and they see your talents prevail? Or are you still trying to hide behind your weaknesses and improve upon your weaknesses because we feel as if that's the road to success? You know, how do you inspire others with your talents? I mean, I love it when I hear people begin to utilize strength language with their teams and with their groups. You know, strength language, you know, my husband just said it to me the other day. He sent me an email, and the email said, you know, I needed to do something with health insurance, but it didn't say what I needed to do, and that's all it said. Well, I emailed him back, and he goes, oh, I'm sorry, you jumped into your activator mode to get it done. I should have told you we will talk about it tonight. So we have this language amongst us that we begin to use in the good times and in the bad. And so I think if we can cultivate that language amongst each other, even working, if you guys are out there working as teams, using the language to kind of say, oh my gosh, you know, I really hear your maximizer coming out right now. Last year we had a group out of Metropolitan Community College, 4 people. that they worked closely as a team, and my coaching, insight to them was challenge each other, use your language, use the talent themes to put people in the right places, ask them what they want to do more of, talk about it. And that group is a highly engaged group. I actually saw one of the members a month ago, and they are still getting together, even though they do completely different jobs, are not even closely related on the campus, and they are still getting together. And what that says to me, you guys, is it reinforces that when companies and organizations create a culture around strengths, there is such a higher level of investment with outcomes, relationships, retention, that we really build upon and build upon. And that group was a group that had an opportunity to work together that really strengthened that. So that's what we're looking for, leading with your strengths. How do you function best? If you're analytical or systematic, I guarantee you're going to function differently than people that are relators and developers and woos. So this is good to know. This is stuff that will help us to be more successful. Okay, so leading with your strengths, develop. We know a couple things that Gallup has researched is that talent must be productively applied to influence performance. Those talent right there, those are your talent themes that are within your strengths. All right, and it all looks very different for each of us. Each of our composition of talent themes play out differently. So my maximizer, productively applied, will influence performance, but how I apply it may look differently than somebody else that has maximizer strength. When our talents are productively and habitually applied, that's when we see an influence on performance. Not only that, in hearing so many of your stories, you guys are spread thin. You have so many hats that you're wearing. You're doing a multitude of jobs. You might have one title, and you could be doing something that does not even fall under a description of responsibility, which I applaud you for that. But at the same time, when I hear all the stress that's coming in, even though we have a multitude of responsibilities, if you are productively doing them by applying your talents to them, the general audience will report less levels of stress. All right? So I hear the stress. I hear we are spread really thin, work-life balance is tough. Yes, it is. But can you begin to more productively apply your talents to each of these areas so that you could feel as if you're getting the most out of yourself and giving the most of you to the outcome of that role or that situation? Talents develop in relations to others, and that is great to know. If, again, for my example of my spouse, if I know how he's operating, I'm going to meet him where my talent meets him. So if he's doing a project, and he's got maximizer, and I have maximizer as well, but I don't want to override his maximizer with my maximizer. So if he's in charge of the project, I might meet him with a ranger, or I might meet him with individualization for trying to get to know what he's doing and respect and that kind of stuff. So we develop and weave our talents together. A person using his or her greatest talents are more highly engaged. And what does engagement look like? In the next 10, 20 years, companies are realizing that it is our people, it is our soft skills, it is the relationships that are going to make our colleges, our schools, our organizations great. If we have people that are just there to do a job or get a paycheck, those people are the people that are not playing to their strengths and that are disengaged and actually stealing from the company because they're actually costing us more than their paycheck. The word engaged is thrown around a lot. So what I did want to do is talk about increasing your awareness of of how you can be more productive, because when you feel like you're more productive, then that's when we're seeing higher levels of engagement. Okay, so let us look at the first area to develop is to increase your awareness on how you're utilizing your strengths for productivity. And when we look at that, we use some words, and whatever words are going to be connecting with you are the words that you'll want to focus on. To develop is in increasing your awareness. Are you mindful, cognizant, and aware when you, for instance, let's say you walk away from a conversation with somebody at work. Do you take a moment to reflect on what went well? What talent were you utilizing during that conversation? What strengths came out? Was it for the betterment of that relationship, or was it towards a breakdown or a demise? So to develop is truly to become more consciously aware of when we are stepping in the direction of utilizing our talents. Another great way to develop this deeper understanding is making sure you do all have your strengths in front of you at work, at home, on the fridge. Share them, talk about them, utilize the terminology with them. I know that some of you are operating within groups. This is a leadership project that we are utilizing two different models, the Kuznia and Posner model and strengths. So I would recommend that not just looking at the Kuznia and Posner model when you are operating with your project, but bring out those strengths in each other. When you have a meeting, if you're able to meet together with your colleagues, bring your strengths or tell people what your strengths are. Lay them out on the table. Start utilizing the verbiage that goes along with it. It quickly helps us to build bridges. It quickly helps us develop respect, move things forward, and get a deeper understanding of our colleagues that we maybe couldn't language to be able to do it. Okay, so let's move into the area now of developing ourselves in regards to relations with others. And again, that self-awareness is needing to grow within all of us, especially when our success is embedded in the strength of the relationships around us. So we need to operate with a high level of self-awareness, and then how we impact others and the importance of those who we surround ourselves with. So we ask ourselves when we are trying to look at those relationships, we ask some questions such as, who is important to be around? Who expects something from you? Who's interested in your success? Who do you enjoy sharing your stories with? And this can be, again, at work and or at home or play. You know, who values your contribution? Who is interested in the impact you're going to have with this leadership project? Those are the relationships we want to be aware of and think about. I do want us to realize that it's okay if we don't have talent themes or many talent themes in, like, for instance, the relationship domain. That does not mean that you do not have relationship building skills. What that means is that your filter and how you look at relationships and influence relationships just comes about from a different perspective. So, for instance, if you are an arranger, you may enjoy working in relationships where you have the opportunities to help organize and to help create order, to arrange details in building the relationship, because that's how you think that relationship might need help, or that's your role within that relationship. So you build up the relationship based off of your talents, which in this area, maybe it's an arranger. So I don't want you guys to think that just because your talents may not fall within an area that you don't have the ability to still develop these relationships. It just looks like it from a different perspective. All right, let's look at leading with our strengths in regards to engagement. What we look at here is that a person utilizing his or her greatest talents are more highly engaged. Those are the people that come to work and they're excited to do their job. They enjoy the people that are around them. They enjoy their job. They enjoy even parts of their job we may not love, but because overall we enjoy our job and the task that we're doing and we have a good fit for our strengths in our job, we are more engaged. So those little things that we may not enjoy doing, we do them because overall you're more empowered with the positive aspects of your good job fit. And you know, there are many examples out there. Living Every Day with Your Strengths is a Christian book, but it talks about people that when they've been in a role for 40 years and they've been doing their job the same way all the time because that's how they thought it should be done, take strengths inventory, and all of a sudden their job is now a totally new, a new endeavor for them, because they never thought about how to apply their strengths to their job to get more out of it. They just kind of went day in, day out. Things are mundane, mediocrity set in. And so, you know, people with that, if you're stuck in a rut and then they took their strengths and they're like, oh my gosh, I do know why I love this job. I know what brought me here now. I understand it. So do you enjoy what you do every day? That is very important. It is not something we should take lightly. So when we ask people, are they engaged, some of those things, the questions that we ask are, do you enjoy what you do each day? I did ask you guys in regards to the leadership project, what gets you excited? What gets you going? Where are you motivated in regards to this project? Because if you don't have that behind it, you're likely going to produce mediocre work. And we don't want that, because leaders strive to create something better, something impactful, something that's going to make a difference, and mediocrity does not. So, you know, that I always ask when I'm coaching and working with people and teams, you know, what are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? You know, if you're doing a team project, if you're the person that is the go-to, is that consistent with your talents? You know, do you have a ranger, an activator, or individualization and communication? Or, you know, what does that look like? Do you want that role? You know, ask yourself, what roles do I actually enjoy within my job? Are there things I could be doing more of that I'm more passionate about, where I could be more productive, you know? Tell me about a great day you've had recently. What made it great? When was the last time you stopped what you were doing and couldn't believe how much time had passed? Those are some great questions, again, to be cognizant of, to be mindful of, and to begin to figure out how we can apply them. And we know that when you're utilizing your talents, you are more highly engaged. You know, work is not work just for a paycheck, but work is something that gives you something back, because you're actually enjoying what you do and you're doing it in such a way by utilizing your strengths that you're getting even more out of it than you ever knew could. The Q12 is those engagement questions that Gallup came up with, the 12 elements of great management, but they also ask people to do the self-reporting. You know, I know what is expected of me. I have materials and equipment. At work, I have opportunities to do what I am best at every day. You know, so these are out there, and these kind of speak to, I think, an overall level of, do you like what you do? Do people appreciate you? Are you able to utilize your strengths to develop relationships and grow yourself at work? And moving on, we're going to look at the next area, which is actually our building blocks of strengths. Now, you know, our building blocks are to help us increase our understanding of our particular strengths, realizing that they are our talents. and we want to make sure we can affirm them and explain them. We want to know how to grow them in the areas of development. What is it? How is it you grow your individualization or communication or focus and ideas? And then, so how can you live in a healthy state, a productive way? And then ideas for recognition of that strength. How is it you recognize it? You know, some of us may have the same strength, but within that same talent theme, we do want to be recognized in different ways. I know in one of my coaching sessions this week that somebody was sharing with me that although they have influencing and relationship building in their talent themes, they no way, shape, or form want any public recognition for anything. It actually brings them down and makes them feel uncomfortable. So, you know, that's interesting to know because based off of what we thought maybe she or he would need, that might be something in that area that we would think they would want to show appreciation to them. I was working with an includer this week with some leadership coaching, and the includer, how that person describes his strength as an includer is very different than another includer that I'm working on. So again, it is tweaked to our individual needs and how we connect most with our talent themes. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share an example as you look at your handouts. This is an example of our building blocks of strengths. In the center blue circle or oval, it is the responsibility talent. And from there, we look at, do you actually accept that as one of your strengths? When I asked you to think about this week what areas, talent that came very natural and a talent that you didn't see as much or one you had to work on, that's what we're talking about with acceptance. I do want you to be able to get to a level where you can accept your talents and your strengths as they uniquely fit your themes, okay? So responsibility, we ask, what is it? What does it look like for you? Now, some people say, they use words like, okay, well, it looks like accountability. It's genius. People think I'm so good, you know, because I have that follow through. I love my responsibility. It's just so part of me. So, you know, what does it look like? How do you accept it? And how might we accentuate it? Well, we accentuate it by looking at ideas of recognition here in the top corner there. What would you do to honor that talent in another person? So what we want to look at is ideas for recognition are up on your left, on your corner there. What a person with responsibility, how they like to, the recognition, the ideas for recognition is to affirm commitment. They really like to be able to know the point A to point B, and commitment is very important. They hold others accountable, as well as, you know, with responsibility, we are, it's amazing to work with people that have this strength because they really do. If they say yes, you know they will work tirelessly to get that job done. To their strength and, you know, possibly to their demise if they're overcommitted. Okay, and then the ideas for developing means that what might this look like and how might I develop it to be more positive? So sometimes with responsibility, we might look like as if we're coming across as micromanagers. You take on too much, you can't say no, you're obsessive about getting it done, you can't go to sleep until the job's done. Those kind of things that we look at, we might, if they're breaking us down or causing us additional stress, we could identify what those areas are and then figure out how it is we can manage them a little bit more effectively. So that is the area of development. Now I'm going to give you another example quickly. Here we have futuristic. So do you accept your futuristic theme? What does it look like, feel like? How do you describe what your futuristic theme is? For some, they speak to dreams. They speak to thinking before acting. These individuals sometimes like being involved in visioning the future of a company and organization. They enjoy the opportunity to think. They like to ask for opinions about the future. So that's ways in which to get them involved and or for yourself to get that strength, to understand that that's how you get, that you receive success or passion from that strength. And ideas for developing it, you know, people might see you as maybe not living in the present. You know, maybe you are lacking focus because you're always in the thinking mode, and then they are seeing you just kind of flounder, but really in your mind, that's not what you're doing. So what would be your ideas for development there? We are going to move into leading with your strengths, the theme, dynamics, and partnership. And I know this gets a little tricky, you guys. It's something you are still becoming comfortable with and playing with. We are going to talk more intently about the top 34. And I know you're not too familiar with your 34s, or all the 34. But I do still want you to reference that book a lot, especially if you are working with some other people in the project, so that you do become more familiar with all of them. If we are trying to grow a strength-based culture and our partnerships at work, we do want to familiarize ourselves with what they look like, feel like, how they impact partnerships at work, and how we can build on them with our teams at work. This is, I know this PowerPoint it's a little much, so if you could focus on the top line, and I'll work our way through it. So theme dynamics is putting a couple of your themes together and coming up with the dynamic relationship that it gives you. I wanted to give you an example. I picked someone I work with has learner and individualization, and I looked at both of their themes, those two themes for that person that works in an office, and how that person describes that dynamic of those two talent themes. So partner A, Cody, has these two themes, and he describes these dynamics of these two themes working together is that he loves to learn about what makes people tick. He loves to ask questions. He loves to read about them. You know, if he knows that, if a learner knows that somebody has a specific talent theme, they may then quickly go to the book and read about that person and then say, wow, you know, that is what Lisa is. Learner and individualization might look like that for Cody. Now Lisa is partner B. She has focus plus maximizer. And when I talked to her, she described those two dynamics working together as I need to be able to focus on projects that I can help make extraordinary. So this person really might enjoy that. What would the partnership opportunities look like for this person? You know, it may read something like this. So Cody could help Lisa manage the project team to ensure team members are aligned with their strengths, right? So that's what Cody could do. This would enable Lisa, partner B, to focus on quality and operational details to ensure the project exceeds expectation. So they are really looking at balancing their roles within their group or their team. It could be a department. And then they're looking at what partner A is really strong and really can be successful in, and then looking at partner B and saying, hey, you know, you don't need to worry about necessarily the roles and aligning their strengths. I'm going to take that over. I think you would be great at quality and operational details. So that's kind of what we look at, seeing, okay, these are our theme dynamics, and how can we weave them together to make this the strongest and most successful partnership we can. I like to say weave because I think that's exactly a great image I can conjure up for you of what this means in a working relationship. And that working relationship can be personal and or it can be professional. You know, performing in a partnership and a team, we ask ourselves, what do we do well? And that's exactly what this kind of opportunity, this working formula can do for you. These are some questions when I'm asking you to be working with people, through people, on teams, you know, whatever that looks like, asking yourself these types of questions. How do we get from, you know, point A to point B? Who can we count on to do what? These are all the types of questions that we're looking at partnerships and developing people that you want to be very mindful of. It is not for you to, you know, micromanage the entire system. It is really for you to begin to embrace the fact that you're a leader and to begin to embrace the fact that how do we develop our people? What can I do? Even if it's a colleague, even if it's somebody that's on the same level for you, I still want you to think of yourself as walking in a leadership role. And my responsibility towards others I work with, whether it's a colleague or whether it's somebody above me or below me, is I want to make sure that I am developing people as I move and as I walk. And so I don't care what's the, the hierarchy of the status. I still try to ask myself these kind of questions when I'm partnering with anybody. Sometimes we just ask ourselves, why are things not going well? What am I missing? Why does there seem to be a lot of miscommunication or conflict? And why are we not achieving what we need to be achieving? Even though you may not know a coworker or a friend or a family member's strengths, you can figure out where they're driving from based off of some of the questions that they might ask you or that they bring up for discussion. You know, like I've said before, if they're very relationship-oriented, they're going to say they're going to work with a people-first questions, asking and trying to bridge gaps with people. If they are strategic, they're going to ask specific, detailed questions. And if they're more executing or activating, they're going to ask more like, what can I do now? What's our next step? As I said, that we have to develop these partnerships because talent must be productively applied to influence performance, but we do that through the development of our relationships with other people. Yes, it's an individual journey, but we cannot do our jobs unless we have these strong relationships with other people, working with them and through them and around them. That is our best resource right there. So once you have realized how to regularly, productively apply your talents into creating a strength, we look at who are we working with to do this, how do we get the job done, how can we be successful and passionate and energized every single day working with these people, through these people, and through our best resource, which is our talent ourselves. So this is not something that we're done talking about. We're going to talk about this area, about ideas for development and recognition, particularly as they pertain to your top five. It is, again, it's not that we just visit these topics and then they're gone. We have to continually evolve our understanding of them, our language about them, our communication with others about them. And a lot has to do with our own emotional growth around our strengths to help us to be the most productive, the strongest we can be. And when we actually embrace these strengths, you've heard me say in the past, but when you're leading with your strengths, whether it be personal or professional, you know, we have a lot less stress coming in at us. We know how to manage things more effectively and efficiently, and that we learn to partner with other people that will help us achieve maximum results. I hope that you are able to find some connections here when we look at our mission statements and when we look at the person's strengths to see how those kind of shine through and how we are passionate about where we're going and how we want to get there and what does that look like. I hope you guys were able to take away a few things to go back and strengthen your knowledge of your talents and be able to think about how we are going to apply them, and be aware, mindful, cognizant of outcomes, and make changes as you go in your leadership journey.